Hello all, welcome to the live. Alright, in today's live, we will be reading Law 21. Um, we are reading the 48 Laws of Power by Mr. Robert Greene himself. If you didn't know, now you already know. There is a playlist if you want to dibble, dabble, see what other ones are there. And yeah, guys, so I'm not gonna do much talking. Subscribe, turn on the post notifications if you want to be notified every single time I go on the live so we can interact at the same time. Guys, I do not schedule my lives. I go on live when I have time and the energy and the battery life, which, by the way, my battery isn't fully done. By the way, I'm also cooking dinner at the same time. So I may possibly be eating at the same time while I'm doing this. This one is gonna be a little bit different than the normal ones, guys. But let's get into it. Let's see what Mr. Robert Greene is dropping on today. So, by the way, when this goes off, I'm gonna have to take a quick intermission and put my dinner in there because I'm hungry. And hopefully, oh, this is pretty short, guys. Okay, Law 21. 21. Is anybody old enough to understand? Is anybody from my generation? Anyways, play a sucker to catch a sucker. Seem dumber than your mark. Judgment. No one likes feeling stupider than the next person. The trick then is to make your victims feel smart. And not just smart, but smarter than you are. Once convinced of this, they will never suspect that you may have ulterior motives. How do we know some? I mean, there are so many people that we know. Hi! Welcome to the live. But there are so many people that we know that play dumb and actually are not dumb. So, peep game, guys. Peep freaking game. Observance of the law. How are you? I'm doing really, really good. I'm actually pretty tired. I have been on go mode, all gas, no brakes. But I'm honestly really thriving, and I love this new energy. Like, does anybody else feel like the energy has just been pretty great lately? Anybody else? I don't know. Also, guys, it is Mercury retrograde, so. Okay. Am I really quiet today? I don't know. Okay. So in the winter of 1872, the U.S. financier Asbury Harbinding was visiting London when he received a cable. A diamond mine had been discovered in the American West. The cable came from a reliable source, William Ralston, owner of the Bank of California. But Harbinding nevertheless took it as a practical joke, probably inspired by the recent discovery of huge diamond mines. And also, how are you? I forgot to ask. Huge diamond mines in South Africa. True, when the report had first come of the gold being discovered in the western United States, everyone had been skeptical, and those had turned out to be true. Where am I from? I'm from the United States. Where are you from? Everyone had been skeptical, and those had turned out to be true. Wow, guys. This is so funny. Okay, hold on. Hold on. I have to make my food really quickly. So, quick intermission. I told you at the beginning of this live that this live is going to be the same as usual lives. So I got this Texas queso with brisket dip from Publix. It was $7.99, And it says to preheat the oven and then put a fourth of water, milk, broth, or beer and bake it for 15 to 20 minutes, stirring it halfway. So that's what we're gonna do. So I have some beef stock, and I'm gonna put a quarter cup of this. So when you get the beef stock, you just shake it up. And then you wanna put it in here like that, like this. And I know you guys can't see, I'm not moving the phone though, but I'm just putting it all over. Like that. That's it? That's it? Hold on. Guys, bear with me, bear with me. Okay, so now we have to bake this for 8 minutes. Baking it for 8 minutes. So I'll come back in 8 minutes for that. All right, off. Okay, listen, sit, listen. Okay, are you guys ready to learn? Are you ready to learn? Classes, push knee. Off, sit, listen. Good job. Okay, classes inside. Girl, off, Kushni. Is it bedtime? Okay, get off of me. Thank you. Listen. Excuse me. Excuse me. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Guys, that was crazy. So, back to what we were talking about. Are you ready to learn? But a diamond mine in the West, Harpending showed the cable to his fellow financier, Baron Rothschild. Rothschild? One of the richest men in the world, saying it must be a joke. They must be joking. The Baron, however, replied, "Don't be too sure about that. America is a very large country. It has furnished the world with many surprises already. Perhaps it has others in store." Harpending promptly took the first ship back to the States. When Harpending reached San Francisco, there was an excitement in the air recalling the gold rush days of the late 1840s. Guys, literally imagine living during the gold rush in America. Like, I really don't. I really wouldn't want to. Like, okay, yeah, you could be rich, but the toilets, think about it. Think about it. Okay, anyways. When Harpending reached San Francisco, there was an excitement in the air recalling the gold rush days of the late 1840s. Two crusty prospectors named Philip Arnold and John Slack had been the ones to find the diamond mine. Oh my God. Oh my God. So there was a gold rush and a diamond mine? How come I didn't know about, a diamond rush at the same time? How come I didn't know about that? Okay, that's crazy. Okay. They had not divulged its location in Wyoming, by the way. But had led a highly respected mining expert to it several weeks back, taking a circular route so it could not guess his whereabouts. Once there, the expert had matched the miners dug up diamonds. I hope they aren't blood diamonds. Back in San Francisco, the expert had taken the gems to various jewelers, one of whom had estimated their worth at $1.5 million. Guys, imagine having a jewel, a diamond, in the 1840s worth $1.5 million. Guess how much that would be worth nowadays? Like, that's probably at least $1 billion. I don't know. I don't know. Am I close? I don't know. Okay, sorry. Harpending and Ralston now asked Arnold and Slack to accompany them back to New York, where the jeweler Charles Tiffany would verify the original estimate. The prospectors responded uneasily. They smelled a trap. Where am I? How could they trust these city slickers? What if Tiffany and the financiers managed to steal their whole mine out from under them? Ralston tried to allay their fears by giving them $100,000 and placing another $300,000 in escrow for them. If the deal went through, they would be paid an additional $300,000, and the miners agreed. The little group traveled to New York, where a meeting was being held at the mansion of Samuel L. Barlow. What am I reading today, guys? It's been a long day. It's been a really long day, I'm not gonna lie. The cream of the city's aristocracy was in the attendance. General George Brinton McClellan, commander of the Union forces in the Civil War, General Benjamin Butler, Horace Greeley, editor of the newspaper The New York Tribune. Does that even still exist? Harpending, Ralston, and Tiffany. Only Slack and Arnold were missing as tourists in the city. They had decided to go sightseeing. When Tiffany announced that the gems were real and worth a fortune, the financiers could barely control their excitement. They wired Rothschild and other tycoons to tell them about the diamond mine and inviting them to share in their investment. At the same time, they also told the prospectors that they want one more test. They insisted that mining expert of their choosing accompany Slack and Arnold to the site to verify its wealth. The prospectors reluctantly agreed. In the meantime, they said they had to return back to San Francisco. The jewels that Tiffany had examined when they left with Harpenden for safekeeping. They're like, okay, we got to go back to San Francisco, keep the jewels with this guy for safety. Several weeks later, a man named Louis Janin, the best mining expert in the country, met the prospectors in San Francisco. Janin was a born skeptic who was determined to make sure that the mine was not a fraud. Accompanying Janin were Harpending and several other interested financiers. As with previous expert, and the prospectors led the team through a complex series of cannons, completely confusing them about their whereabouts. Arriving at the site, the financiers watched in amazement as Janin dug up the area, leveling ant hills, turning over boulders, and finding emeralds, rubies, sapphires, and most of all, diamonds. The dig lasted 8 days, and by the end, Janin was convinced. He told the investors that they now possessed the richest field in mining history. With 100 men and proper machinery, he told them, I would guarantee to send out $1 million in diamonds every 30 days. Returning to San Francisco a few days later, Ralston, Harpenden, and company acted fast to form the $10 million corporation of private investors. First, however, they had to get rid of Arnold and Slack. Okay, guys. I told you guys this is an unconventional vlog. I really have to check this thing and mix it and then put it back in the oven really quickly. Don't judge my outfit. I'm about to go to sleep. Sorry if I was loud, by the way. Okay, now I have to mix it. Do you guys want to see what it looks like? I'll show you. Look at that. Cushing, back up. My dog's all close. She's like, oh, let me smell. Oops. Okay. Now you have to mix it up. Good job, baby. Okay. I hope this is good. Oops. Now I gotta put it back in the oven for the same amount of time. I will do a taste test on camera too to show y'all if this is good and if you guys should get it. So set it for another 8 minutes. Like, I don't like my stuff super crunchy and stuff like that. So I set it for like the middle amount of time usually, but I don't have like a 7.5 on my timer and stuff. So I just have to put a full minute. So that's why I just put for 8. But it said 15 to 20. Okay, so back to me educating you. Class is back in session. Cushy, sit and listen. All right, are you guys ready? That meant hiding their excitement. They certainly did not want to reveal that the field's real value, so they played possum. Who knows if Janet is right, they told the prospectors. The mine may not be as rich as we think. This just made the prospectors angry. Trying a different tactic, the financiers told the two men that if they insisted on having shares in the mine, they would end up being fleeced by the unscrupulous tycoons and investors who would run their corporation better. They said, take the $700,000 already. Offered an enormous sum at the time, and they put their greed aside. This their prospectors seemed to understand, and they finally agreed to take the money in return, signing the rights to the site over to the financiers and leaving maps to it. News of the mine spread like wildfire. Prospectors fanned out across Wyoming. Meanwhile, Harpington and the group began to spending the millions they had collected from their investors, buying equipment, hiring the best men in the business, and furnishing luxurious offices in New York and San Francisco. A few weeks later, on their first trip back to the site, they learned the hard truth. Not a single diamond or ruby was to be found. It was all fake. They were ruined. Harpending had unwittingly lured the richest men in the world into the biggest scam of the century. Drop mic. Guys, wasn't that story just crazy? That was wild. Okay, what did you think of that? Hi, Rital. Welcome. Okay, interpretation of the law. Arnold and Slack pulled off their stupendous con not by using fake engineer or bribing Tiffany. All of the experts had been. Okay. All right. The deceiver's first commandment. The logistics of the con were simple. Quite simple. Months before Arnold and Slack, they announced the discovery of a diamond mine. They traveled to Europe where they purchased some real gems. Sorry. Um, where they purchased some real gems around $12,000, part of the money that they had saved from gold as gold miners. They then salted the mine with these gems, which they first dug up and brought to San Francisco. The jewelers who had appraised these stones, including Tiffany himself, had gotten caught up in the fever and grossly overestimated their value. The Ralston gave the prospectors $100,000 as security. Immediately after their trip to New York, they simply went to Amsterdam and bought sacks of uncut gems before returning back to San Francisco. The second time they salted the mine, there were many more jewels to be found. The effectiveness of the scheme, however, rested not on tricks like these, but on the fact that Arnold and Slack played their parts to perfection on their trip to image. In coats a size or two small and acting incredulous at everything that they saw in the big city. No one believed that these country simpletons could be the most devious, unscrupulous financiers of the time. And once Harpington, Ralston, and even Rothschild accepted the mine's existence, anyone who doubted it was questioning their intelligence of the world's most successful businessmen. In the end, Harpington's reputation was ruined and he never recovered. Rothschild learned his lesson and never fell for another con. Slack simply went home to Kentucky, and after all, his sale of his mining rights had been legitimate. The buyers had taken the best advice, and if the mine had run out of diamonds, that was their problem. Arnold used the money to greatly enlarge his farm and open up a bank of his own. Aww. What a cute ending to that story. Okay, guys, so let's read a little red story, a little red fable, a poem, whatever it is. Let's see what it is, okay? Drum roll, please. Now, there is nothing of which a man is prouder than of intellectual ability, for it is this that gives him his commanding place in the animal world. It is an exceedingly rash thing to let anyone see that you are decidedly superior to him in this respect, and to let other people see it too. Hence, while rank and riches may always reckon upon deferential treatment in society, that is something which intellectual ability can never expect. To be ignored is the greatest favor shown to it. And if people notice it at all, it is because they regard it as a piece of impertinence, or else as something to which its possessor has no legitimate right. Ooh, this looks so good. Look at that. Okay. I'm gonna let that cool down, and let's get back into it. And once it's cooled down, at the end for you guys, okay? Back into being educated. Class is back in session, okay? Regarded as a piece of impertinence, or else as something to which its possessor has no legitimate right, and upon which he dares to pride himself, and in retaliation and revenge for his conduct, people secretly try and humiliate him in some other way. And if they wait to do this, it is only for a fitting opportunity. Girl, back up. Off. Get off of me. Thank you. A man may be as humble as possible in his demeanor, and yet hardly ever get people to overlook his crime in standing intellectually above them. In the Garden of Roses, Sadi makes the remark, You should know that foolish people are 100-fold more averse to meeting the wise than the wise are indisposed for the company of the foolish. On the other hand, it is a real recommendation to be stupid. For just as warmth is agreeable to the body, so it does the mind good to feel its superiority. And a man will seek company likely to give him this feeling, as instinctively as he will approach the fireplace or walk in the sun, if he wants to get warm, but this means he will be disliked on account of his superiority. And if a man is to be liked, he must really be inferior to in the point of intellect. Arthur Schopenhauer, 1788 to 1860. Now, let's go ahead and get into these keys to power. The feeling that someone else is more intelligent than we are is almost intolerable. We usually try to justify it in different ways. He only has book knowledge, whereas I have real knowledge. Her parents paid for her to get a good education. If my parents had as much money, if I had been as privileged, he's not as smart as he thinks. Last but not least, she may know her narrow little field better than I do, but beyond that, she's really not smart at all. Even Einstein was a boob outside physics. Given how important the idea of intelligence is to most people's vanity, it is critical never inadvertently to insult or impugn a person's brain power. That is an unforgivable sin. But if you can make this iron rule work for you, it opens all sorts of avenues of deception. Subliminally reassure people that they are more intelligent than you are, or even that you are a bit of a moron, and you can run rings around them. The feeling of intellectual superiority you give them will disarm their suspicion muscles. In 1865, the Prussian counselor Otto von Bismarck wanted Austria to sign a certain treaty. The treaty was totally in the interest of Prussia and against the interest of Austria. Bismarck would have to strategize to get the Austrians to agree to it. But the Austrian negotiator, Count Blum, was an avid card player. His particular game was quints, and he often said that he could judge a man's character by the way he played quints. Bismarck knew of this saying of Blum's. The night before the negotiations were to begin, Bismarck innocently engaged Blum in a game of quints. The Prussian would later write that it was this very last time I ever played quints. I played so recklessly that everyone was astonished. I lost several thousand thalers, the currency of the time, but I succeeded in fooling Blum, for he believed me to be more venturesome than I am, and it gave way. Besides appearing reckless, Bismarck also played the witless fool, saying ridiculous things and bumbling about what a surplus of nervous energy. All of this Blum felt like he had gathered valuable information. He knew Bismarck was aggressive. The Prussian already had a reputation that the way he played had confirmed it. And aggressive men, Blum knew, can be foolish and rash. Accordingly, when the time came to sign the treaty, Blum thought he had an advantage. A heedless fool like Bismarck, he thought, is incapable of a cold-blooded calculation and deception. So he only glanced at the treaty before signing it. He failed to read the fine print. As soon as the ink was dry, a joyous Bismarck exclaimed in his face, "Well, I could have never believed that I should find an Austrian diplomat willing to sign that document." The Chinese have a phrase, masquerading as a swine to kill the tiger. This refers to an ancient hunting technique in which the hunter clothes himself in the hide and snout of a pig and mimics its grunting. The mighty tiger thinks a pig is coming his way and let it get close, savoring the prospect as an easy meal. But it is the hunter who has the last laugh. Dun, dun, dun! Masquerading as a swine works wonders on those who, like tigers, are arrogant and overconfident. The easier they think it is to prey on you, the more easily you can turn the tables. This trick is also useful if you are ambitious yet find yourself low in the hierarchy. Appearing less intelligent than you are, even a bit of a fool, is the perfect disguise. Look like the harmless pig, and no one will ever believe you harbor dangerous ambitions. They may even promote you since you seem so likable and subservient. Claudius, before he became Emperor of Rome, and the Prince of France, who later became Louis VIII, used this tactic when those above them suspected they might have designs on the throne. By playing the fool as young men, they were left alone. When the time came for them to strike and to act with vigor and decisiveness, they caught everyone off guard. Intelligence is the obvious quality to downplay, but why stop there? Taste and sophistication rank close to intelligence on the vanity scale. Make people feel as though they are more sophisticated than you, and their guard will come down. As Arnold and Slack knew, an air of complete naivety can work wonders. Those fancy financiers were laughing at them behind their back, but who laughed loudest in the end? In general, then always make people believe they are smarter and more sophisticated than you are. They will keep you around because you make them feel better about themselves. And the longer you are around, the more opportunities you will have to deceive them. Now guys, imagine this. Close your eyes unless you are driving or handling heavy machinery. The possum. In playing dead, the possum plays stupid. Many a predator has therefore left it alone. Who could believe that such an ugly, unintelligent, nervous little creature could be capable of such a deception? Authority. Now, know how to make the use of stupidity. The wisest man plays his cards at all times. There are occasions when the highest wisdom consists in appearing not to know. You must be ignorant and capable of playing it. It is not much good being wise among fools and sane among lunatics. He who possesses a fool as a fool is not a fool. The best way to be well received by all is to clothe yourself in this 1958. Now, this is the reversal to the law. If this law does not work, guys, this is going to be the reversal. This is very crucial. To reveal the true nature of your intelligence rarely pays. You should get in the habit of downplaying it at all times. If people inadvertently learn the truth that you are actually much more smarter than you look, they will admire you for being more discreet than making your brilliance show. At the start of your climb to the top, of course, you cannot play too stupid. You may want to let your bosses know in a subtle way that you are smarter than the competition around you. As you climb the ladder, however, you should to some degree try to dampen your brilliance. There is, however, one situation where it pays to do the opposite. Listen. When you can cover up the deception with the show of intelligence, in matters of smarts, and as in most things, appearances are what count. If you seem to have authority and knowledge, I cannot read with this dog running around this house like this. I'm sorry. If you seem to have authority and knowledge, people will believe what you say. This can be very useful and you out of a scrape. The art dealer Joseph Devine was once attending a soiree at the New York home of a tycoon of whom he wished recently sold the Durer painting for a high price. Among the guests was a young French art critic who seemed extremely knowledgeable and confident. Wanting to impress this man, the tycoon's daughter showed him the Durer, which had not been yet hung. The critic studied it for a time and then finally said, "You know, I don't think this Durer is right." He followed the young woman as she hurried to tell her father what he had said, and listened as the magnate, deeply unsettled, turned to Devine for reassurance. Devine just laughed. "How very amusing," he said. "Do you realize, young man, that at least 20 other art experts here in Europe have been taken into and have said the painting isn't genuine. And now you've made the same mistake. His confident tone and air of authority intimidated the Frenchman, who apologized for his mistake. Duveen knew better. Duveen knew that the art market was flooded with fakes, and that many paintings had been falsely ascribed to old masters. He tried his best to distinguish the real from the fake, but in his zeal to sell, he often overplayed the work's authenticity. What mattered to him was that the buyer believed that he had bought a Durer, and that Duveen himself convinced everyone of his expertise through his air of irreproachable authority. Thus, it is important to be able to play the professor when necessary and never impose such an attitude for its own sake. Guys, let's try this food and then I'm going to end this freaking live, okay? Okay, I just washed my hands. This is what it looks like. These are my chips.